Thank you everyone for joining. My name is Mark Habberfield. You probably know me as the sales engineer Object Matrix. We also have our CTO Francisco on the line, who will help me out if I get stuck, along with our head of sales Nick somewhere, who will also help me out should I need it. Thank you for joining the customer update. We do these twice a year just to get you guys an idea of what we've been up to the last 6 months, what's new, and where we are heading. So we'll have a quick look at the latest features, the OS, the vision, the move to the hardware, and also a few of the new customer workflows we've been looking at recently. There's quite nice ones in there that we will look at. Having been at NAB in Vegas and the Sports Video Group in New York this year, it seems the trend at the moment is all about hybrid storage, hybrid workflows, hybrid everything. I mean, it's the best of both worlds, isn't it? You've got some on-prem, you can leverage the speed, the necessity of that, while you've got some cloudy products as well. Whether it's storage, whether it's some CPU or some processes, you get the best of both by mixing and matching, working on whether your end users need fast on-prem workflows where you give them access to work remotely, or they use some form of cloud version as well. Although it seems most people are using some form of hybrid, they also seem to be moving away from their Lto style workflows as well. This came back from the pandemic. People, of course, going into offices with PPE on just to load an LTO tape to get something back. People don't want to do that anymore, and people don't want to be migrating to, I think it's LTO 9 next. We're also seeing people making these long changes between LTO versions, and they just want to stop. They want to make it better, cloudier workflow. So we're going to look at the latest features, and I've got to start it off by saying we haven't done a full MatrixStore update. We're still on version 4.2, but we've done a few point changes. It's just a few security updates, a few extra features, and a few improvements. But the big change that probably most of you won't see is that under the hood, we've changed the Linux distro we use. So, it's based on Ubuntu, and previously it's been 16.04 with the right security updates. And although that's got long-term to support all the way through to 2026, we realized we needed to jump on the latest versions now so that the systems that are going out the door today to our new customers today are getting the very latest versions. So we started using Ubuntu 20.04 as the distro that Matrix OS is based on, and that's something you probably won't see unless you take a major upgrade to the next version, and your current hardware supports that as well. From the front end point of view, of course, Windows 11 is now fully supported, as is macOS Monterey and the M1 chipset. So no fears if you're buying a brand new Mac tomorrow and the only thing you can get is that. So let me have a quick demo of what we've got coming in the latest version of Vision. I'm going to just show you a demo of this because it's way better to give you access to the system so that you can see what we've got coming or available today. I've got the very latest version in the office, 26.04, and the beauty of that is that I can see the very latest. I've actually got two-factor authentication enabled here, but you've probably noticed when I logged on, it didn't ask me for my two-factor password. Reason being, I've saved it for the next 30 days. Beauty of that, of course, is it means we're saving a few things in the background. You can also see normally it would come in and it would always be in the mode of having thumbnails. And now I've got the list mode. What it's done is just remembered the last view that I had. And the last view I had for me when I logged in was a list view. You flip it back at the press of a button. It's also saved the sort type as well. Because I last used it in a size format, it sorted everything as a size format. The other thing you'll notice in the very latest version is the right-hand side, the metadata window. Again, it's remembered that I actually had a couple of my metadata windows shrunk. That means those shrunken metadata windows are staying shrunk because I didn't need them at the time when I was last using it, but I can easily pop them open as I need to. Probably also spotted tags have gone from the bottom to the top, as has the metadata form. Metadata form no longer at the bottom of the list, it's actually at the top. We can actually change this. It's quite easy to do in the background, so you decide actually what order you want these in. It doesn't have to be in any particular order, but whatever works best for you is what is available to us. We also have an extra option on the right click now. So we can now show the fault statistics. Simple, press a button, where you go, fault statistics are calculated on the fly and available to us. Let's do a different fault. That literally worked just before this demo. And of course, every time you do a demo, everything goes completely wrong. Should also be able to calculate the size of a folder. Again, calculates the size, how many assets, how many things inside it. And I can also now add bookmarks. So I could decide, you know what, my favorite vault is the raw video vault. This is the one I want to use all the time. I'll make it a bookmark, it'll refresh, and that's the one that's going to be in the top left. So whenever I log into MatrixStore, it's going to be there for me. And again, I can remove that bookmark, press a couple of little buttons. Another thing that we've changed this time, as per the requests of our customers, the old get link. It always used to be public expiring links, had to be 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. We can now change that to anything you like. If you say, hey, you know what, first thing in the morning, I'm going to give someone access to this, but only for the working day. I'll set it up for 7 hours. I'll create that link and it will only last for 7 hours. So again, the customization for the expiring links has improved drastically. One of the other things we've improved, which for those of you who use it, is the JKL support. As you know, if you press the old L button, you can speed things up and slow them down. You can also now use J to go backwards in a better route. It's great seeing the photos go back and forth quite nicely. And we've also got the Shift key as well, has been added so that you can now slow motion things if you really want to get a precise location, particularly on your flipping, for example. So these features in Vision, all driven by our customers to make Vision better and better. I always forget to mention, back in March, we did also include the Signiant Media Shuttle integration. So you can now just download with Signiant or upload. It's up in the little lightning on the top there, upload with Signiant. Gives it another way for your end users to get data in and out of the MatrixStore using file acceleration. All that does is exactly what it says on the tin, pops open a new window that will enable the Signiant Media Shuttle app to deliver or send data to the MatrixStore. I'm going to cancel that now. I don't need to do that this second. Let me go back to my slides and just quickly check I didn't miss anything. In the features side of things, yeah, show vault statistics, calculate size, add bookmark, the remembering options, remembering the last view, whether it was list or thumb, remembering the last list type, whether it was name, date or size, and that two-factor authentication, trusted devices. You can now log in once and that browser will remember for 30 days that you were there. Metadata panel improvements, change the sort in order or remembers whether it's shrunk, enhanced JKL support and custom expiring links. And not to forget the Media Shuttle download with Signiant. A lot of the conversation around hybrid actually comes back to the application Move To. There's been a fair bit of work on Move To in the last 6 months. It's always worked to MatrixStore Cloud, and of course, Move to MatrixStore Cloud is fully metadata compatible. All metadata in MatrixStore on-prem will be maintained in MatrixStore Cloud. It's obviously a secure SSL S3 data transfer, which means that if you haven't got a direct link or a VPN between your two clusters or between your on-prem and MatrixStore Cloud, Move To is a perfect option for getting your data to MatrixStore Cloud or another MatrixStore. Just a quick look at some of the customers who use a MatrixStore Cloud. Aurora Media Worldwide, ATP, Bare Knuckle, BBC Wales, Lions Rugby, Beggars Group Doghouse, Equinox, who do all of the Soul Cycle stuff. Everton have recently joined, Football Association of Wales, Fremantle UK, Gorilla, Irresistible, Yiska Bank, Off the Fence, Pinewood recently joined us, the Finish Line and Partnership, Warehouse 51, Wildstar and Whisper, and at least 6 of those customers have also got an on-prem as well, where they use their on-prem cluster and back it up to MatrixStore Cloud or offload data from the on-prem to MatrixStore Cloud. So certainly a lot of customers taking up these hybrid options. Other customers who don't choose MatrixStore Cloud can of course choose Amazon S3 or AWS. Beauty of that is, of course, when Move2 pushes to AWS, we keep the folders and the file names exactly the same. We can also add up to 2 kilobytes of user-defined metadata, because that is all Amazon S3 supports. We want to add more metadata, because in MatrixStore, every key pair can actually have up to 64 kilobytes of metadata. It means you can add it as a sidecar file. Lastly, Move2 will also allow us to do the configuration to Glacier as well. So we will be able to decide when you set up your vaults using the Move2 application, how it's going to tier down to Glacier, or how long it's going to stay in S3 before it tiers down to Glacier. Might be a better way to say it. Of course, there's more than one cloud out there, and Move to S3 also works with GCP, Google Cloud as well. Again, maintaining the folders and the file name, optional metadata stored in sidecar files, and fully tested by our QA department to work with the standard, the nearline, and the archive Google Cloud buckets. For those of you who like a Google Cloud. New to this month, we've also made Move to Azure Blob Storage. Now, there was a workaround where we could use an S3 intermediate, so move to S3 to Azure, but it was a bit outdated. It wasn't a nice solution. So we've actually now write directly to the Azure API. Again, it means we've got more control over things, how things are going there, the checksums, making sure the folders, file names, and metadata is all there for you. And again, being a product of ours, we know that it supports the hot, cool, and archive tiers in Azure. And Move2 is getting used quite a lot. Many customers picking it up, adding it into their workflows, offloading their oldest data, the stuff they don't use very often, and making it very, very useful to them. Of course, it wouldn't be an update session if I didn't mention Sense, our analytics tool. Quite a few of you have access to this, and if you have it on your on-prem system, when you next upgrade, or if you request it specifically, you will get given an extra panel. That panel does exactly what the screen says. It gives you vault statistics, gives you a lovely little graph where you can look at it and say, hey, how much is in it? How long has it had that much in it, etc. And it basically adds the min, max, the current to a lovely block chart. Very useful. And again, a customer request to put that in. MXFS, MatrixStore file system, had the search and filter vault list added a little while back now, but it seems to be one of those features a lot of people forget about. So I thought I'd just mention it. The show all, mounted only, and filter names is an option when you're using the GUI. But specific to this version, MatrixStore 4.2.9, we did add some MXFS console changes and improvements. It means you've got a bit more control, a few more options, and those of you in the Linux world or those using console to mount their vaults will find it is a little bit better when it comes to setting these up. Of course, please do let us know if you have any of these in place so that we know to make sure you update your scripts when you are setting the system up. Technical partners. We are driven by our partners and our customers' requirement for these partners, and this year has been no different to any other. In fact, in the last 6 months, we have added quite a few new ones who have come onto the scene and been requested by customers. One of those is Highscale, transcode solution from Germany, used by a couple of our customers now, where they are generating proxies or transforming assets used via the MatrixStore or on the MatrixStore. Pebble systems, the playout system works quite nicely with MatrixStore. It can use us as the archive. It uses its Dolphin servers as the direct playout point, but it can drag the assets from MatrixStore to the Pebble Dolphin servers, which in turn play out with Pebble. Massive, MASV, has also come onto the scene as an alternative file accelerator. We did a bit of testing with our S3 interface and found this works quite nicely and is a slightly different way of file accelerating your assets between locations. Resilio, not sure if many will have heard of this. It's a syncing application that will sync an on-prem to MatrixStore Cloud. It's actually got some quite nice features in it, and it's quite web GUI based, which gives it a lot of control and quite nice to use. SME, Storage Made Easy, down in the left there. Been around for a long, long time, and we have done work with our interfaces in Samba and MXFS, but this year we also qualified our S3 interface. If you're looking for a single pane of glass to multiple systems, SME could be a good way to go. Last one I'll mention, just Storage DNA. A couple of customers have been using Storage DNA's Evolution product for quite a long time now. They've been backing up their assets to LTO using Storage DNA's Evolution product, but this year Storage DNA brought out their Fabric product as well. Fabric being their cloudy workflows, or again all the cloud options they have. And again, we just qualified MatrixStore Cloud, gave them an S3 endpoint. Storage DNA Fabric worked very, very nicely with the S3 endpoint. The usual suspects are still on there as well: Adobe, Avid, Vidaspine, and one of my most used ones these days seems to be Telestream. I mean, I was looking back at my documentation recently. I've got Telestream documentation going back to 2012 at the moment. So it's been quite a long partnership with these guys. And Vantage, VidChecker, and the workflow engine Transcode Farm has been working with MatrixStore's MXFS and Samba interfaces for many, many years with many customers. Last year, no, 2 years ago, we qualified the S3 interface as well. So MatrixStore's S3 access point will now work quite nicely with Vantage, giving an extra option and an extra little bit of performance if you choose to go that way. Content Agent, again, used by several customers using our Samba and MXFS interfaces. Obviously, it's recently been purchased by Telestream, but it's fully compatible with MatrixStore. A while back, Accumulate, before it was Telestream, was qualified via the MatrixStore S3 entry point. And as soon as we all worked out that Diva was also going to be part of the Telestream group, we also qualified that to use our S3 interface. So that's where those two products talk to MatrixStore via S3 so that we are the storage beneath them. We've also had quite a few requests for move to S3 to talk to Telestream Diva itself, so that MatrixStore becomes the nearline, Diva and Diva's LTO systems become the deep archive. That's a work in progress, but it should be there pretty soon because we have customer need for it. We're working very closely with them to get that up and running. MatrixStore Cloud, of course, was qualified with Telestream Cloud a while back. I think we did an announcement last year on that one. But yeah, the S3 interface, again, just allowing all of those cloud options, qualified, transform, text to speech, etc., to work nicely with MatrixStore Cloud in that way. Very latest product from Telestream is the Glim Player. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's a server that sits next to either your on-prem, or we could deploy it in MatrixStore Cloud, and it will basically serve the assets straight to between 5 and 15 end users straight out of the web browser. It's basically going to be, or is pushing towards, the Telestream version of an in-browser editor. So it's a nice product and some nice new features which we were demonstrated to yesterday, and quite a useful integration to have to expand the Telestream workflow. Okay, on to hardware. Hardware is probably something a lot of our cloud users don't really care about, but there is some hardware under the hood. But for our end users who take that on-prem piece as part of their hybrid workflows, it's It's worth noting that we do have an updated bill of materials. We got the new X12 motherboards, improved speed, improved security, and improved power. Dual Xeons, plenty of RAM, and hardware raided into the system. Pair them up with a 20 terabyte hard drive, or 24 20 terabyte hard drives. You've got 480 terabytes raw and 440 usable. Means you've got a good 1.3 petabytes in 6U, which is plenty to be going along with. They're a little longer than the standard chassis, but very, very good and in use at various customers as we speak. The 60 bay chassis, again, pair that up with the 20 terabyte drives, and suddenly we got 1.2 petabytes raw and 1.1 petabytes usable. Again, in use by several customers out there, and a pretty darn solid chassis, allowing 3.6 or just shy of 5 petabytes in 4 chassis or 12U, no, 4 16U. Do my maths, Mark. Lastly, the new Seagate chassis, a very, very dense node, 106 bays in a 5U. Super big, actually uses erasure coding, which means we get a slightly higher usable to disk ratio than we'd normally get off the Supermicros. It means you get 2.1 petabyte or 1.8 usable. We're just finalizing the certification of these, but we do have customers wanting them, so it will be very, very soon in racks hosting MatrixStore in the not too distant future. A lot of people are talking about the sustainability of storage these days, and of course we want to be sustainable ourselves, and it's the new hardware that's leading us to that. The denser we get, the better the performance. The per dollar, the per foot squared, the per watt performance really does makes the latest MatrixStore chassis very, very efficient and more environmental. Lifespan of an average node is 6 years, which is a touch higher than most others. Most other companies will be between 3 and 4.5 years, but we really do stretch our nodes, and some of our customers will go beyond the 6 years as well, to really get the most out of them. In fact, MatrixStore Cloud itself is hosted in a data center in Newport, and that data center is completely run on renewables, completely solar, wind powered. So of course, the environment being a key feature these days. Customer focus. I wanted to bring up these new workflows, new things we've been working with our customers on, just to highlight how other people are using their MatrixStores. DirecTV in Argentina is a perfect example of a hybrid workflow. They've got a 0.5 petabyte of on-prem. They've got their Vantage farm doing checks, transcodes, and workflow engines. They've got their ITX ingest. They've got a small editing storage where they've got a few editors who use that directly. And then they use Vision as their main MAM, their main thing to push the data around, to get the data in and out, and to queue up everything they need ready for the edit side of things. They do use Aspera for their fast file delivery via our MXFS application, and they do use Move to S3 so that their oldest assets are then pushed off to Deep Archive, while keeping the proxies and the metadata in MatrixStore. So should they need it back, they can make that choice to bring the data back. I think that's been in production year and a half now, but it's been a pretty successful story for them, having MatrixStore at the center of their workflows. Another success story is what we've been doing with NBC. I mean, this is NBC New York and NBC UK, where they have their avid Media Central production asset managers, or as I like to call them, Interplay, connected to MatrixStore via our Interconnect application. It means we're effectively mirroring the backup of their Nexus storage and the metadata on there. They've actually got 6 work groups, but the main work group 1 and the second one, work group 2, both back up into MatrixStore, and should one of those become unavailable for any period of time, they can use the MatrixStore to restore to another work group. Full disaster recovery built in to their MatrixStore and Avid Production Asset Managers workflows. A little while after we set all that up and got all that running, they also brought us their Media Central Media Asset Manager product as well. They wanted to just have the low-res proxies in MatrixStore, the high-res assets in their LTO or colder storage, and connected all up to their Media Asset Manager, which in turn shares out to the end users via UNC paths. It's a great workflow. It's been in place for 2 years now, where the low-res proxies are fast served out of MatrixStore via our SAMR interface, giving them a great workflow. The UK side of things have also taken on move to S3, and they are also pushing their oldest assets off to Amazon as well. So again, the hybrid is not just for others. Lastly, Mezzanine Proxies. This is a new one that's been coming up more and more often, and it's come from 2 different sports companies in 2 different countries. One of them uses an oval ball, one of them uses a round ball, but the point is they've come to the same thing, which is that their high-res footage, 4K or 8K footage, is on a cold storage. It's on a cold tier. One of them happens to be using Glacier for that, and one of them happens to be using LTO tapes. Before they went to the deep archive, they created a proxy. One of them used Autonomous Cubics, one of them used Drastics Transcoder. The point is they both made a Mezzanine proxy, and they both made a MP4 that was a 1920 by 1080 resolution with about 3 megabit per second bitrate. What that gave them was a great way, although it takes a bit more space up, a great way to have all of their proxies in a just good enough format. Mezzanine proxy, just good enough for the social teams to upload to YouTube or Twitter or whatever platform we are using in our social world in the not too distant future. So yeah, it's become quite good for those because they haven't got to restore from their deep archive. It's put a lot less pressure off the deep archive. It might take a bit more space, but less cold storage restores. Oh, thank you. I've just remembered Beth has just put a link in the chat to a sports video group event that we were at in New York, which actually had one of these work companies discussing us at some length. So again, if you want to hear it from the end users, how they're doing this with the Mezzanine proxy, you could click that link and choose to watch back what others are doing. We will be at IBC in Amsterdam between the 9th and the 12th of September. I believe we've just popped a link into the chat if you want to set up a meeting with us, book a meeting. It would be great to see you over there, and we can talk further about MatrixStore and workflows with you. Lastly, to just mention, we will be represented at the Satis Screen for All show in Paris, which I believe is in November. NEB show New York, which I believe is in middle of October, and there's a sports video group event in New York in early December that I also believe will be at. So of course you'll find us at the main shows and the main events if you're around as well. Let us know. Any questions, please do get in touch and let us know how things are going, and let us know if you want to chat or if you want to talk about anything. Here for workflow chats, here for customer chats, and here to find out how you guys are doing.